Hey everyone, it's Lexi. In today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I read in the month of June. So I've continued my really good reading streak. So in May I read a total of 8 books, and then this month as well I read 8 books as well. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm very happy with it as well. So the books I feel like I talked about this month, or I read this month, were very kind of diverse in terms of what genre was. They were kind of all over the place, and the majority of them were actually rereads, which I'm pretty proud about. I've been wanting to reread books more, and I feel like marathoning series that I've read before kind of helps motivate me to do that, so that will be part of it as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting out, I first read Gone to Darkness by Barbara Nicholas, and this is the 4th book in the Sydney Parnell series. And because this is the 4th book in the series, I can't talk too much about it, but the series follows Sydney, who is a former Marine from who used to work overseas in Iraq, and so she's come home and she now works as a detective for the kind of train systems, and she has a canine companion named Clyde, and they go kind of solve mysteries together, or murder mysteries I should say. And I've loved this one. I love this series. I think it is really well done. It highlights very important topics such as PTSD, how there's not a lot of resources for people who come back from war to adjust, and I think it does that well. But this one was very interesting, and it integrates more of a kind of misogynistic group of people, and just kind of reading, because you do get narration from the killers, and it was very interesting seeing that perspective and just kind of reading from that. And I think it's very relevant now, just that misogyny. So it was very interesting. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really well done. The last 50 pages were super suspenseful, and I really can't wait to see what happens next. And it was just super creepy, the fear that you have when watching The Handmaid's Tale. That's what I had with this one, just in terms with everything there. So it was really well done. I only knocked down 0.5 on my rating because I did feel a bit of a disconnect from a lot of the side characters, especially Cohen in this one. So hopefully, I think because this one Sydney was kind of starting out a new role, so it focused more on her, but hopefully as the next one comes out, it will kind of deal more with the other side characters as well. So if you're looking for a new crime series, I highly recommend you check this one out. There's only 4 out, so you can probably finish them pretty quickly and get caught up. So yeah. I finally ended up picking up The King of Crows by Libba Bray, and this is the 4th and final book in the Diviners series. And again, because this is the last book in the series, I can't go into too much detail about what happens in this one, but basically it follows a group of people known as Diviners who live in the 1920s, and they have some supernatural power to them. They can either touch an object and know the history of the person it belonged to, walk through dreams, those sort of things. So while there's they find each other and they're living their life up in the 20s, there's this dark supernatural power called the King of Crows that's wreaking havoc both in the world of the dead and the world of the living, and they are kind of tasked with the goals of stopping this. And I really enjoyed this conclusion. The series is very complex. It seems like it's like a paranormal fantasy read. It's in a historical setting, but the author utilizes the historical setting to really address a lot of the issues with this era that are still relevant today. And they, in particular, the KKK, the eugenics movement, racism, which as we know now is still very much an issue, and not a lot has changed. So I like how she, especially because this is a YA fantasy series, I think she addresses it in a way that is respectful, and it does it so in a way that it is realistic, and you can see not much has changed in the past 100 years since when this book took place. So it's very interesting, and I really applaud the author for doing that, especially in the 3rd one was when, I think it was written around the time of Trump, when Trump was inaugurated, and just kind of the hate that came out of that. And just, she had very interesting author note, and if I can find it, I'll kind of write it here. Alrighty, so I found the quote that I was talking about in Before the Devil Breaks You about Libba Bray, and it's actually quite long, so I'm just going to read it to you. So it goes, As I write this, we are in an especially divisive era in American politics. There are questions about who holds power, who abuses it, who profits from it, and at what cost to our democracy. It is a time of questions about what makes us American, of shifting identities, inclusion and exclusion, protests, civil and human rights, the strength of our compassion versus the weakness of our fears, and the seductive lure of the mythic great past that never was versus the need for the consciousness and responsibility necessary if we are truly to live up to the rich promise of we are the people. We are a country built by immigrants, dreams, daring, and opportunity. We are a country built on the horrors of slavery and genocide, the injustice of racism and exclusion. These realities exist side by side. It is our past and our present. The future is unwritten. This is a book about ghosts, for we live in a haunted house. It was very interesting how she tackled that, but I really love this conclusion. I feel like there is such an air of mystery to this series, and especially here, like, we finally get our answers revealed, and it's just super creepy and eerie, and yeah, like, it's actually pretty scary. Like, I read the first one a couple years ago, and it was just like, don't read it during the dark, but I liked it. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it. The third book was amazing, but this one I felt like there's a point where all the characters kind of get split up and they're kind of on their own for like 200 pages, so I felt like a good chunk of the book, like, not a lot happened, and it was just kind of like, you know, twiddling your thumbs until they eventually kind of come back together. That was my biggest complaint about this. It was just kind of the pacing was off in this one, but nevertheless I still feel like it was a very good conclusion to this series, and overall highly recommend this. I'm planning on doing like a overall series review of this in the future, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you are still interested on my thoughts overall of the series. And to kind of end out the new reads, I ended up picking up White Fragility by DiAngelo, and this is my sister's copy because this book has been sold out everywhere, and I want to kind of purchase this from a Black-owned bookstore that is actually near my school, so I think I'll wait till I'll be back at school to get that because it's kind of out of the way. But this was very much an eye-opening read. I have my notes here because I rated this on Goodreads, but I'm still comprehending and trying to articulate how I felt about this book, but it was very much life-changing, and it just made me aware of, like, I've always been aware of my white privilege, but I've never thought of it in this perspective. Like, some of the ones, like, I'm just here as like racism, like teachers at school, like, I've never really realized that all of the teachers that I had up until university were all white and they looked like me, and it's like basically the theme was like, I belong everywhere. I see myself in books, I see myself in media, I see myself in the news, like, I see people like me everywhere, and that's not something I really acknowledged. Like, and I even look on my shelves now I have all of my favorite TV shows, and they are majority white casts, and I've never really thought about that till now, and I'm very embarrassed and ashamed that I've never really thought about that. And I'm using this as an opportunity for me to acknowledge my mistakes, learn from them, and become a better ally. And I think this book is written for white people by a white person, and just, I think it's very interesting. So she defines white fragility as patterns of white people's responses to racial discomfort, and how we're like, oh no, we're not racist, but then we're built in as, like, racism is just built into the fabric of our society, and we may not even notice it. Like, some of the examples are like YA books only mention race for people of color, and like how we would be like, oh, the good old days. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, I'd always love to go and, like, you know, if you could travel back in time, like at the roaring 20s would be fun. But for me, it would be safe as a white woman, but for someone who is black going in there, like the KKK, racism, like, it was not safe. Police brutality, like, it was not safe for some people, and that's not something I've ever acknowledged or even, like, thought about, or even just how, like, Trump capitalized on white fragility to kind of get that fan base, and it was just very eye-opening. And like how there's difference between like white and men, white fragility was just really interesting, and it just made me really kind of aware of the world that, like, my little world that I live in, and it's just like there's no people of color in our neighborhood. My school was like 95% white, and I never thought anything different about that because that was just my reality, and I never questioned it. Or even when I was doing my residency, there were some racist things going on and I was upset about it, but I never spoke up. And I don't know, like it's made me really kind of crumble everything that I know about everything and build everything up, and just how I can change my perspective, how I can become a better ally, how can I make the world a better place for people. And I may not know what it feels like to experience racism, like I will never understand that, but I'm willing to help you become, and willing to help you become part of that change. And I want to become a better ally, and this was very eye-opening, so I highly recommend you pick this one up. Like I said, like I was very kind of blown away just by my ignorance basically on everything, and like I said, I'm learning from this and I want to become a better ally, and I think a lot of people would benefit from reading this book. So next, moving on to this series that I've been rereading this past month, and I read the first 2 books in the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. The first one being I Tell You I'd Love You But Then I'd Have to Kill You, and Cross My Heart, and Hope to Spy. And I loved this series growing up. I didn't read Harry Potter until I was in high school, so I'd never really grew up with a series. This is the series kind of for me, and I love it. It's basically, it follows these girls in high school who are in spy school, and I remember like the first 2 books kind of are very much kind of setting up this world, and then there's like this overarching plot over the next 4 books and it becomes more darker and complex. But these ones are kind of more like the first 2 Harry Potter books, where it's just like Harry and his adventures that he goes on with his friends, and then it kind of picks up after, you know, the 3rd one. And yeah, so the first one I enjoyed. It was very much kind of a early, like mid 2000s like YA read, and it was just some of like the teenager stuff in here was just like, oh my goodness, just like the stuff Cami does. Like I didn't enjoy this one as much because I feel like this one's kind of very juvenile. And yeah, so I gave the first one a 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite. But then after I picked up this one, I was like, oh yeah, I understand why I love this series so much. It's just, you can tell like it's building up towards something, and the beauty is like I remembered some of the things in here and I didn't remember anything in this one. So like the next 4 books will be like reading it for the first time because it's been so long. But this one you definitely kind of see where the series is progressing, and there's like the mysteries and like questions that Cami has and the reader has that you're just trying to figure out. And I know there's, like I said, the overarching plot of this that I don't remember, but I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much more. Like it's not so boy focused as this one is, and we're kind of getting closer to that mystery aspect that I was talking about and like the overarching series plot. So yeah, I really enjoyed these, and they're very quick reads as well, so they're fun, they're super nostalgic. And I have like a first reactions video of like a vlog experience of me rereading these, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It should be up by like end of July. But yeah, I was super fun kind of going back into this. I was worried that I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did the first time reading it from like an adult perspective, but they're still really fun, enjoyable, and just quick, easy reads. And lastly, I ended up reading the first 3 books in Harry Potter, and so I kind of switched between the physical book versions of these and the audiobook. I like listening to the audiobook when I'm doing my knee modeling on the computer because I don't have to really like think or read anything. I can just like kind of listen while I'm just muscle memory building the knee. But I'm gonna put these down because it's very heavy. But I haven't like sat down and reread all of the Harry Potter books within like a short span of time. There was a period where like a couple years ago where I was listening to the audiobooks every now and then, and last summer I got to the 4th one, but other than that, like I haven't read like 1 through 7 over like a short time span since I first read them. So this has been very good, and there's so much stuff that I just forget because I'm so used to the storylines in the movies that there's like some things in here that are like brand new because I totally forgot about it. The first one I gave a 5 out of 5 stars because, you know, obviously it was a good one. And then my least favorite of the series is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I just don't like, there's something off about this one. I think maybe just, I don't know. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, this one is not my favorite of the series. And then my favorite one of the series is Prisoner of Azkaban, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And I just love this one. I think it's just where, like I said, where it becomes from like Harry Potter and his childhood adventures to where there's actually like we get into the heavy grittiness of the overarching plot, and I love this. It makes me just super nostalgic for when I first read it. Like I said, I read it going into grade 9, so I was 13, so it's been quite a while since I've sat down and read these, but it's just something super nostalgic, especially with the Gallagher Girls series. Like, this is the summer of nostalgia, I think. But yeah, I'm definitely excited because after the 4th one, I haven't read any of the like 5, 6, and 7 since, you know, 2009, so I'm really looking forward to that. But oh my goodness, I've just been loving just this nostalgia and just being back in this world, and it's just a lot of fun. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of the books you read this month were, and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.